Cageless.
Welcome back to Late Night Cage Fight. This is a comedy podcast starring a group of guys, all from Ohio so far, pretty much. And we'd love to have some female voices here. So if you're listening and you're a Nick Cage fan, you happen to be female, let us know. We'll get you on here. Our podcast is mainly focused on reviewing all of Nick Cage's movies and ranking them definitively. But as we're gearing up for Season 3 of our movie battles, we're releasing some fresh side content. It's Reece and Shawn tonight, and we'll be looking at Disney's Marvel's WandaVision, now streaming on Disney+. Tying this back to Nick Cage's masterful, marvelous role as Ghost Rider. And we also have a special guest this evening. With us is Jordan Lowe, the owner of Asylum Comics in Marietta, Ohio, co-host of KA-POW, the pop cultured podcast, and writer of a line of all-ages comic books from indie self-publishers So Pro Comics. Thank you for being with us, Jordan.
Wow, well, thank you for that introduction. It makes me feel very accomplished in life.
Yes, and you are. You are. Yeah. Very, very talented guy. I always love reading your stuff, and I'm always impressed by the collaborations that you do and the scope of your writing. I urge everyone to check out your stuff if we can find it, right? I know sometimes I got to go in the shop. It's like a treasure hunt.
Everything should be at soprocomics.com. We have some that are up there free to read. You can order through there as well. So just a lot of different things. We try to keep all ages friendly.
Okay.
So they're appropriate for kids, but they're also, we like the actual term all ages, where it's not just, dumbed down and kid friendly, where it's comics everyone can enjoy. So.
Sure. Awesome. And of course, Shawn, you're with us again. How are you?
I am well. I am ready to talk about some comic book sitcoms.
Shawn is so ready for this discussion. So let's just get started. What is everyone's background with Marvel? Please don't make me go first. Why don't you go first, Shawn? With the comics and the movies. I mean, you've seen it all, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. Honestly, my background with just superheroes in general, it was actually not something I was into as a kid. But it's something that I really got interested in after the first Iron Man movie. That the early days of comic book on film was not, shall we say,
stellar.
Yeah. But really it was the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that really made me interested in it. I thought that the first Iron Man movie was very very well done at the time, and it got me interested in just the Marvel universe as a whole, and really just kind of took off from there. I ended up going to see every movie in the theater. I watched most of the shows that they had out there. I even started getting into some of the DC movies and shows. For a time, I was reading some of the newer Marvel comics. I ended up liking things like Guardians of the Galaxy. I read a little bit of Nova. I read Annihilation and Infinity Gauntlet. So I'm not super knowledgeable about the actual comics, but I know enough to get by. But yeah, that's kind of my background.
How about you, Jordan? What's your history with Marvel?
I've basically been reading comics since I was old enough to read. We always had some in the house. I never know where they came from. Like, an aunt would get you one randomly, or I inherit one from my older brother. They just sort of were around the house. But I really started, if you say, collecting in the early 90s, probably when the X-Men cartoon started on Fox. And that cartoon was so well done. I'm like, these X-Men characters are so cool. I want to learn more about them. So I went to I was a baseball card collector. So most of the card shops also sold comics. So that the 91, 92 is probably about the year I got into really, buying them in sequence and collecting them and keeping them in mint condition and all that fun stuff you did as a kid. So I have never turned back since.
Awesome. I had some comics growing up. A couple X-Men comics. Again, I don't know, like you, I don't know where they came from. I just remember having them. I had this one white comic book it was very kind of sparkly, glittery, I want to say, and it was a wedding issue. I had no idea what was going on. But
that era, there were a lot of gimmicks and fancy covers to try to get you to buy or spend an extra dollar, to enhance the book.
I see. And then I also had a VHS tape of the first episode or two of that cartoon, which I thought was awesome. Yeah, I mean, that opening song is amazing. I kind of had some random comics here and there, and I guess it wasn't until the Wolverine appearances in the movies that I started getting kind of more into the Marvel stuff. But yeah, I just never, I don't know. I'm just still kind of not really in that world as much as a lot of my friends are. And so I kind of pick and choose, here and there. Like, oh, this looks cool, and I'll watch this. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't. But I need you guys to be my senseis here. Help me understand, because I had no idea what I was getting into with WandaVision, and it's really cool. But guys, I'm kind of lost, so I need you.
Yeah, that's one thing that I thought was interesting, because I realized that, I was recommending this show to you, not really thinking he's never seen Infinity War or Endgame or Age of Ultron or Civil War. There's a lot of context there that you are not getting.
Thing is, I want to. I really do. But at this point, I feel overwhelmed. I don't know where to start.
Yeah, we're more than 20 movies in. So it's like we're past the point where you can just say, well, just catch up. It's like it's becoming more and more impossible to catch up.
I saw the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I liked that one. I saw the first Captain America movie. I liked that one. And then I just kind of, my interests were elsewhere. And now I just feel like I missed the boat,
Honestly, with Disney Plus now, it's almost something that you just gotta binge like a show. You just gotta hunker down and just hammer them all out.
You guys will inspire me. Of course, sitcoms are a big part of this show. What are your guys' background with sitcoms? Did you have any favorites growing up?
I was a pretty avid watcher of Nick at Night when I was a kid, and that's actually where I got exposed to a lot of the black and white era of sitcoms. Like, I used to actually watch, like, I Dream of Jeannie and I Love Lucy and, oh man, what were some of the other ones? Bewitched. I used to watch The Brady Bunch a lot. Even some 90s sitcoms. I was really into, like, Step by Step.
Yeah, we still watch I Love Lucy. And then, my wife likes this one show, Three's Company.
Oh, I used to watch Three's Company. Which, in hindsight, it could be potentially a little problematic, but,
Well, speaking of Three's Company, I think I had maybe 3 channels growing up, so I appear to be a little bit older than you guys. So we didn't have cable for a long time, so it was basically, if this show is on in the afternoon when you're home from school, that's what you watch. So
that was it.
It's you know what, Newhart's on, so we're huge Newhart fans right now. We're gonna watch that every night. But yeah, definitely when we finally got cable in the early mid '90s, Nick at Night was amazing, and especially those, I don't know if it was like New Year's Day or they do special holiday marathons, and they do the 100 greatest episodes, and it was just there'd be a Beverly Hillbillies episode and a Mary Tyler Moore episode and a Twilight Zone episode. Just everything I had missed, from those eras, and you got the cream of the crop of it. And it was just it was a good education for a lot of this stuff we reference nowadays, and the pop culture, before you could stream all this stuff or have DVD sets of it. Yeah. And my two favorite sitcoms of all time are the Dick Van Dyke Show and Family Ties. So WandaVision has been right up my alley as a sitcom fan.
Well, one of the most interesting factoids about this show was just that they actually got Dick Van Dyke to consult for it, and he had no idea how big Marvel was.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this fact.
No.
That's interesting. So, I'll get the big question out of the way now. Do we foresee any possibility of Nicolas Cage having a role? An appearance?
I don't think he'll be in WandaVision, but there is a possibility that he could be in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Because, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but this series essentially starts to dip its toe into the Marvel multiverse.
Okay.
Which there have been all these Marvel adjacent shows and movies, but they haven't been canon within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And rumor has it it's going to be a sort of trilogy of WandaVision, the third Spider-Man movie, and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The third Spider-Man movie is rumored to bring together all three actors that played Spider-Man from the three eras of film. Unfortunately, no Japanese Spider-Man, but, can't have everything.
So when these execs are planning these movies out, I mean, we already know that they're looking at these movies years and years down the road, right? And I guess now it's safe to assume that they're also looking at these shows, these streaming shows on Disney Plus, and how they can tie into the previous movies and the ones to come as well. So it's kind of exciting. I kind of wish I was more of the Marvel universe, because I can sense that excitement of that anticipation of knowing or not knowing what's to come. But as for
to me that's the biggest, like, just the level of difficulty of these and pulling off that is like that the movies are good is almost secondary. Like they managed to pull it off and have all these actors stick around for 6 or 8 movies, right, and tie all the plot threads together. Like there's been nothing like this in cinematic history. And I still remember, before that first Iron Man came out, you just hear, wait, they're going to do an Iron Man and then a Captain America and then a Thor, then they're going to put them all together. All right, I'll believe it when I see it. Like it just seems so impossible.
Right.
And now we have space raccoons and crazy, like everything in a way that was just not possible, or we didn't think was possible until they just did it. So it's crazy.
I remember, and this was probably like 2010, me and my friend joking around the time Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, just like, oh, they should just do like a live-action Rocket Raccoon movie and just make it like a realistic-looking raccoon. And then they like actually made live-action Rocket Raccoon, and it was like one of the most successful films of that year.
Yeah. See, dreams can become reality.
I think one of the things that makes this franchise so successful is just that it tells these self-contained stories, but it's also always building up to something bigger. And, like, you know, for the 20-plus movie run that they were leading up to Infinity War and Endgame, they were telling these stories along the way, but they would just give you these little breadcrumbs of, like, things to come. And the way that everything paid off at the end was just so... It was worth the wait.
And they've done a good job that it's not overly complicated. Yeah, there's a lot of characters and there's a lot going on, but most of them are fairly standalone. And like some of the characters who popped up in WandaVision, you know, if you don't know the Randall Park character, well, he's just an FBI agent. You don't have to know where he appeared, and you have to have footnotes to see, you know, how does he tie to this? He's just an FBI agent, and you can get that from this. Or the Kat Dennings character, she's just the scientist, but if you recognize her from Thor, that just adds an extra. You're not missing anything. Yeah. But if you recognize it, you're gaining a little bit of something.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that was largely my experience. I could somewhat remember these people in roles from movies that I have sadly somewhat forgotten. But yeah, it was really interesting because it is a self-contained story so far, it seems, in WandaVision, although now it's starting to branch out. We're at what, episode 5 now?
Yes, which about halfway. The season will cap it at 9 episodes. And I don't think that this is a series that's going to get a second season. I think this is going to be a one and done. Yeah.
Well, I do want to say from here on out, we will be talking about spoilers. At least I will be. And I'll begin that by saying what cued me in to the fact that this was connected to the other movies was when they mentioned Ultron. And then I realized, oh, this is part of a bigger story. Shawn, you didn't tell me this.
This isn't just a sitcom.
It's not. No, I knew that, but leading up to it, you know, I was really feeling some Twin Peaks here and there. I was feeling some, when they leave the, what's the name of the town that they're in? Westfield?
Westview.
Westworld? When they leave Westview, when your perspective goes outside of the sitcoms, it felt like something like the movie Annihilation, not connected with the comics, but with Natalie Portman. Like, oh, okay, there's this supernatural kind of presence that has created this alternate reality for some reason. And then, of course, you get the big... I don't even know if you call it a twist, because I get the sense that probably Marvel fans going into this show already knew what was creating this reality. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I had no idea.
There were only a handful of options, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Because the thing about this series, and this was kind of the case with Infinity War and Endgame... It's kind of based on specific runs of comics, but not exactly. It kind of takes elements from different things. It's not really clear exactly what is going on, but based on what's happened in the comics, fans have a good idea of where it might go.
I see. So there isn't a WandaVision comic book.
No. There is a more recent run of the comic. I think it was called The Visions. And Jordan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't actually read this particular run. But yeah, and it's essentially where Vision is in a pocket dimension and creates kind of like a nuclear family scenario for himself, similar to what's going on in WandaVision, but they're all like a family made up of visions, and there's even like a robot dog, which episode 5 where they find the dog and then it dies. I guess that's kind of reminiscent to something that happens in that run. But there's also been, a lot of things in the comics with Wanda. There was the House of M storyline in the comics where she remakes reality after losing her mind and kills most of the mutants in the world. Now, obviously, we don't have mutants yet. Well, maybe one, depending on how things pan out.
So she definitely has a long history of being mentally unstable, and she's been possessed by demons and altered reality, and characters have died and come back to life. That, like, all that comic book melodrama, that there's just this recurring theme of her losing it, causing problems, and then having the Avengers have to swoop in and put it all back together. So if you know anything about her, those kind of historical tales, that's kind of what fans were assuming coming into this. But like Shawn said, that none of it is a straight adaptation, so they can still twist, turn, and do anything and surprise us. But people, well, it's probably going to do this, or probably going to have a cameo from this character, or this, they mentioned this word, so that's probably this villain. Like, people are really trying to tie it to something from the comics, but until we see it, it's hard to say.
All right.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that there's something to it that we're not expecting, or there's just another layer there that people haven't figured out yet.
The rabbit hole goes deeper.
And it does a good job. Like you said, if you haven't seen Age of Ultron, you don't know too much about Wanda. Well, even if you have, you don't know much about Wanda. She's only in it for 15 minutes. Like, these stories are so sprawling. A lot of good characters, don't get that kind of spotlight. So it's cool to have shows like this that people are now big fans of Wanda and want to learn more about her and go back and read these stories. So it's neat to the big blockbuster team epics are cool, but it's also good to have these neat smaller stories that focus down on the characters. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Wow. I learned a lot just from that. I guess briefly, Jordan, what is your overall impression of WandaVision? Did you have any expectations?
I wasn't sure what to expect because, like I said, we've had some Marvel stuff on TV before. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that Inhumans show that got canceled really fast. So the Netflix shows, so we've had, but those aren't, quote unquote, in continuity or in canon. And they've all been lacking something. They're not all. Even the ones I really liked weren't quite to the level of the MCU. Okay. So this one I didn't know, but it looks like they're spending. I saw something like $25 million an episode. Like, they're throwing a ton of money at this. It's A-list stars, really good writers and directors. So they're treating it as a big blockbuster movie, but just on the small screen. So I don't know. I wasn't sure what to expect plot wise because it just seemed kind of weird. It seemed like a sitcom starring two superheroes. Okay, but I've been blown away by how much I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, me too. And that's coming from someone who's definitely not nearly as familiar with these storylines and these characters. But attesting to what you said about the amount of money and the talent that's behind this, the credit sequence is so long. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's like a third of the episode.
Right.
That's kind of like an ongoing thing with these Disney Plus series, because the same thing would happen with Mandalorian. They'd have 30-minute episodes, but like 10 minutes of it would be credits.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also interesting too when you watch a short film on YouTube or something, and they'll also have really long credits, and you think, wow, that was a lot of work for that 15 minutes. So, Shawn, I'll leave it to you. If you want, we can go episode by episode and kind of dig into it and talk about certain things that, I guess, whatever you want to talk about within these episodes.
Sure. I mean, we can give a brief recap of the first 5 episodes. And it's also worth noting that at the time we're recording this, it's Thursday before the 6th episode airs, so obviously we're not going to be able to talk about that one, but
yeah, we're ancient history by the time this comes out.
Yeah, they're going to have like fucking Batman in it or whatever. Yeah, so yeah, one of the things that I thought was cool about this show is the level of care that it takes to recreate the different eras of sitcoms, I should say, represented in each episode. There's a lot of little touches here and there that I think a lot of people wouldn't notice, but it really gives it an authentic feel. And really, like, I know a lot of people were complaining about the first few episodes being slow. I'd honestly, I'd be good for just like more of just the regular sitcom episodes. Personally, they were legitimately entertaining, in my opinion.
It has an interesting effect in how this begins because it makes you actually feel like one of these townspeople who are under control, under mind control. It really draws you into the world, I think.
That's one of the things that with the first episode, it's very subtle at first and then gets more apparent as the series goes on. But, you know, the first episode gives you this sense of, oh, this is a classic sitcom, but something's not right. And you can't really put your finger on it, and the viewer doesn't at this point have an idea of why these characters are in this scenario, but it just gives you little breadcrumbs here and there for the first few episodes. So the first episode is heavily inspired by shows like the Dick Van Dyke Show and I Love Lucy of the 1950s. They use the typical 3-camera setup, you know, that was heavily used in sitcoms of that era. Except
I was going to do a Ricky Ricardo impression, but I don't want to get canceled. Sorry to interrupt.
And even the sets, like the set in that first episode was exactly the Dick Van Dyke Show set. From where the front door is and the stoop and the ottoman to where the kitchen has a swinging door, like, and they did that every episode since. We went to the Bewitched living room and the Brady Bunch living room with the staircase and everything. Yeah. So it just that level of detail to just what lamps they used, what they, you know, even the clothes they were wearing, and you know, it went from early 60s to late 60s to 70s. So just every frame. Someone was paying attention to every frame and every little detail.
Do you think all the clothes were bulletproof?
We're going to need to see if that plays out here, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, rumor has it that for episode 5, they actually wanted to get... because Elizabeth Olsen, if you didn't know, is... the younger sister of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. So
I did.
Supposedly they wanted to get them for the 80s inspired episode, but they didn't want to take away from the plot.
Too meta, right?
Yeah.
Man, if they'd been standing at the door instead of Quicksilver, people would have lost their mind.
Yes. I would have. Certainly.
Oh, and another thing that I thought was interesting about the series that is a subtler thing that some people might not realize, but the commercials in episodes 1 through 3 and 5 are loosely based on trauma that Wanda has had throughout the Marvel movies. So the Stark Industry toaster in episode 1, Tony Stark was the one that created Ultron, which killed her brother. And
that's making this crazy like ticking sound, like a bomb almost.
Yeah.
So there's this weird subliminal
it's
threat to this toaster.
It's very in my opinion, I think it's very Lynchian. It reminds me of what did we watch with Nick Cage? What did we watch with him?
Wild at Heart.
Yeah, it reminds me of Wild at Heart. Remember Steve's comment that movie is actually a manifestation of the actress, of the character's trauma. And I thought that was very insightful, and I had to pat Steve on the back for that. I was just impressed he would think of something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Steve.
Yeah, the Strucker watch, Strucker, the Hydra agent who was the one that experimented on her and gave her her powers.
I didn't make the connection.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Now Disney Plus did these short little vignettes. I forget what they labeled them, Marvel Legends or something. They're these little like 7 or 8 minute clip shows, basically, that if you hadn't seen all the movies or wanted a refresher, they edited a bunch of scenes together to give you a quick refresher course. I forgot. I should have mentioned that there's a little bit of a cheat sheet to catch up before you start this show.
I didn't see that.
They did one for Wanda and one for Vision, so just short little history of the characters in the Marvel universe.
Well, that's cool. Damn, I should have watched those.
Yeah, especially because Vision kind of has a convoluted origin story. If you haven't seen the movies.
But his origin story is in the movies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was he oh man, it's been a while since I've seen Age of Ultron, but originally in the Iron Man films, the AI that was in Tony Stark's suit was Jarvis, and eventually Ultron had corrupted Jarvis, and they essentially turned Jarvis into a synthezoid.
Oh, and that's what he is.
Yeah. So technically he's a sex robot.
Really? I didn't see that in the Disney Plus vignettes, Shawn. Oh my goodness.
Beginning of episode 2, Vision fucks.
Oh boy. Don't worry, Jordan. We'll make you look good. Paul Bettany. We talked about Elizabeth Olsen. Paul Bettany plays the role of Vision. I think he plays the character extremely well. I just have some beef with him from way back when he starred in the Priest movie. I'm just bitter about that because I was a big fan of that Korean comic book, and he was the starring role. And it was basically had nothing to do with the original comic book. So, I was just a little angry about that.
He's lucky he didn't get canceled for whitewashing a role.
Exactly.
He'd be done.
I guess this is his apology. This show. So I'll take it because I'm.
I think both the stars are great as the hammy, over the top sitcom acting. And the laugh track, and then when they drop that and get real and like intense, they're even better at that. So I think they have a real handle on both sides of this show.
One thing that I think is especially surprising is just how good Elizabeth Olsen is, because when they first introduced her character in Age of Ultron, she had this kind of like pseudo-Russian accent.
Oh, yeah?
And it was kind of not good. and they kind of eventually started to phase it out over the course of the movies. But interestingly enough, they brought it back in the 5th episode.
Oh, I didn't notice. Yeah.
She was like singing the lullaby in her native language, and yeah, they kind of gave her a thicker accent there.
Oh, it kind of tripped me up to the episode where she becomes pregnant. I literally had just finished watching, I think it's season 2, episode 2 of Star Trek Next Generation, where I forget her name, the empath on board. She mysteriously gets pregnant, and it's super fast pregnancy, has the baby super fast, and the baby's growing up super fast. You know, he's like 10 years old in 3 days. So it was really bizarre for me to basically see the same kind of storyline in this back to back. It was bizarre. So yeah, that's just...
See, I thought you were going to say that you just finished watching the Junior with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, I watch that every week. I don't tell people how much I like that movie.
That's going to be the next Cageless that we do.
Cageless Junior. I'm going to leave that in here, and people are going to believe it, and we are going to get canceled. Thanks.
I mean, I'm surprised we haven't gotten canceled just for having Steve.
Sorry, Steve. We love you. I think the most interesting thing about the first episode, though, was... Oh, and shout out to what's her name from that 70s show, because she makes an appearance. I don't remember the actress's name.
Oh, she was the beekeeper?
That was episode 2.
Oh, we're not there yet.
No.
Oh, man, this is going to be a long episode if we're still talking about episode 1.
No, just the one thing I wanted to mention about the first episode, yeah, as I mentioned, they use the typical 3-camera setup, but then there's a scene where at dinner Vision's boss starts choking, and it kind of breaks the immersion, and everything kind of gets like super intense, and everyone's just kind of staring at each other, and they go to like a wide shot camera, and kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was cool. That camera guy was just, he was like, oh, it's coming. My shot.
Yeah. So episode 2, more inspired on 1960s era, like Bewitch, I Dream a Genie. They even kind of, I didn't even mention the intros in this show are fantastic. They're all takeoffs of classic sitcoms. Yeah, I mean, they even have like an intro that's basically the same as the one used in Bewitched. That's animated.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I really like the song in episode 5, the theme song. I just want an episode 5 show from now on with that song. Yeah, it's just a really lovely song.
It's like Too Many Cooks.
Too Many Cooks. Jordan, have you seen Too Many Cooks?
I have, yeah.
You have. I got Shawn to watch that for the first time last week.
Yep. That was something.
That will take a lot of healing.
We did a whole debate about the best TV theme songs of all time.
Yeah.
And we tried to narrow it down to the best of all time, and that we use that as our outro music every episode.
Hear me out. DuckTales.
DuckTales.
That got pretty far. That got pretty far.
Did it? It's one of those things where you can't remember a single episode, but yeah, you know the song.
Mm-hmm. What? Out of curiosity, what was the voted the number one?
I think we ended up with. It was. What's that called? Will Smith. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wow.
Is that you, Shawn? Is it a helicopter? It was you. You fixed it.
I did. Sorry about that.
Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, of course. It's one of those things... It could be someone from Sword trying to contact you. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. If you're at a party or something, they're playing dance music, and then you throw in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme, and everybody will love it and go crazy. It's a safe one.
Yeah.
It's a safe one.
Didn't they do a reunion not that long ago for HBO Max?
Yeah, very teary reunion special.
What was it?
Wait, all the old beefs came out, and we squashed the old beefs from those eras. So
Finally.
And everyone hugged and gave each other COVID.
Yep.
Did you guys see that? I don't know if it was a reality show or what. I just saw a clip online of Will Smith and his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. She revealing to him that she cheated on him, and his reaction. It's I don't know why I think about that once in a while. Just how I've never seen anything like that. Going on a live TV show and I don't know, I would be scared, like telling my significant other on live TV who happens he also happens or she happens to be a mega millionaire. I don't know. I'm surprised she
Celebrities live different lives.
Yeah, he was almost a Scientologist too, almost.
Oof.
But he avoided it.
But he decided to become Hancock instead.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What else about WandaVision? What's the deal with the beekeeper? I brought it up earlier.
They the beekeeper was somebody from Sword that they sent over underground, and his suit turned into a beekeeper to fit with the theme.
Oh, he was disconnected, right?
Yep.
I see. And then he was forced to merge with the world.
Yeah. But we don't know what happened to him. Did he get like expelled like Geraldine?
How far will this go? See, this is what I want to talk about. Where is this going? Do you think this is going to become... Is it going to be like The Predator, where she's going to get to a level where she's skinning people and we find their corpses, Twin Peaks style or something?
I mean, it's kind of interesting. Again, we're only to the 5th episode, so we don't know. But they have the guts to kind of make her the villain.
Yeah.
That, okay, we start that she's, we all kind of feel for her. Vision died and she's sad, but like she's gone too far. She has to be stopped. Like she's not the good guy of this series.
Right.
So that's interesting. Again, how far you can take it, I'm not sure. She's done some pretty terrible things in the comics.
Oh, really?
And then come back around and been redeemed in some way. So
okay.
I don't know. I think you could. I think she's gonna lose it at some point and cause some real damage.
Okay.
But that's just a total guess from my point.
Do you think? Sorry. Go ahead.
I think she's gonna break reality, just straight up.
Straight up.
She's gonna be the cause of the multiverse crisis.
So you think she's going to actually have a huge role in the direction of future films potentially?
Yes, and it's already been confirmed that she's gonna play a part in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which that title makes sense because she's known for losing it.
Yeah. She's obviously very powerful. Why is there a possibility for negotiation? Like, hey, here's kind of your boundaries. I guess we lost, this many people are under your control. If you can just give us back this number of hostages. Do you think they could come to some kind of agreement?
I think somebody's pulling the strings, honestly.
Oh. Yeah?
Yeah, I've read some things about that her powers are jumping pretty far and pretty fast. Is someone else pushing her from behind the scenes, pulling the strings somehow. And there's a list of villains or other characters that we could might see pop up. So who knows?
Yeah.
But then again, this is just it's just a TV show. Like, this isn't a huge blockbuster movie. Like, how much can you change on this small scale? We don't have a frame of reference. Like, they wouldn't, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't kill off a main character or something from the Marvel Universe. So, like, these shows might exist in the world, but they react to it. Can we have a TV show on Disney Plus that, like, sets the whole Phase 4, quote unquote, into motion? I don't know. They might do that. Everyone seems to be watching this show, or up to date at least with what's going on. So I don't know what the rules are. They might break reality just in a 9-episode streaming TV show. I don't know. It's refreshing to have no clue how big this could get.
To answer the question of will this affect the movies, I think the answer is yes. Kevin Feige has made it pretty clear that the Disney Plus shows are going to be different from the other Marvel TV shows that were kind of they technically existed in the same universe, but the movies could affect the shows, but the shows couldn't affect the movies. I think this is going to be different. I think they're going to do it in a way where this story is self-contained, but it's going to lead to something.
And everybody's waiting. Disney has acquired the Fox property, so we've got to throw in X-Men and Fantastic Four, and everyone's in a hurry to get to that. But whether this is the avenue for that, we don't know. Obviously, the way Episode 5 ended, people are hopeful that this is, crossing some kind of boundary with the Fox universe and the mutants and that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I think fans are maybe expecting too much. Okay. Like, everyone wants everything right, and they want it done really well, and they want it done right now. Right. So I think, with a little bit of patience, I'm sure we'll get to all that. But I hope people aren't disappointed by this show from what they want to happen. Yeah. Rather than just, see what the show gives you and then make up your mind. Like, don't be disappointed because we didn't get... Because every movie that comes out, the customers I talk to, I heard a rumor that this guy's going to show up, or I heard a rumor, or I hope this guy, and I hope they do this. And, like, they build it up in their heads so much. I'm like, how are you not disappointed in this? Because you've created your own thing in your head. So... I don't know. I said I don't know what the limits are here. I hope there aren't any, but we have to assume there are.
Yeah, of course.
And Reece, I should give you a little bit of background on the significance of the ending of Episode 5. So, the character of Quicksilver, well, both Wanda and Quicksilver. So, in the comics, these are both characters that are equally identified with the X-Men and the Avengers. They spend equal time in both comics. So at the time, Fox had the movie rights to the X-Men, but since there was overlap between these two characters, it gave the ability for Marvel and Fox to both use Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Didn't they try to do Scarlet Witch in X-Men 3? I never saw that one.
I don't remember. That was the worst one, which is saying a lot. But yeah, it was. Yeah. There may have been some references or something, but yeah.
Yeah. But one of the characters that was in Avengers Age of Ultron, so they introduced Wanda and her brother Pietro, Quicksilver, and the version in that movie was played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's known for the movie Kick-Ass, but his character died in that movie. But there also was a version that was different in the X-Men movies. Completely blanking on the actor's name.
Evan Peters.
Yes, Evan Peters. Who's very well known for...
He never had a huge part in the X-Men movies, but he always had a good scene or two that fans really liked. So fans like that guy.
Yeah, so it's very interesting to see a different version of the same character showing up and what the ramifications of this will be. and it's going to be interesting to see how they explain why this happened. That's really the big mystery now. We'll probably know more tomorrow.
Do you think that most of these mysteries will eventually be answered within the context of the show, or do you think some of these will have to branch out to, I guess, what's to come after this show ends?
I think most of it will be answered within the confines of WandaVision, but I think that there's going to be ramifications down the line. I know one of the things that people were speculating to happen, so I had mentioned that House of M, where Wanda changed reality to get rid of most of the mutants in the world, people were speculating a situation opposite to that potentially she creates mutants somehow by messing with the fabric of reality. I'm not sure if that is something that will happen, but...
And the other big mystery we haven't even touched on, that at the end of Endgame, where we left off, Vision was dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he shows up here happy and alive and whistling, and did she bring him back? Is she just, is she dragging his corpse around inside this bubble? Like, what's going on? How is he back? And is he back? I guess is a better question.
Yeah, I had that same question too. Of course, I haven't seen Endgame, but it was obvious that Vision had died previously. But it was also they I guess expressed that the people in the town, they're not projections or hallucinations. They're actual townspeople who are under this mind control spell. So, yeah, that makes me wonder too if Vision is in the flesh or. And
seem to be in pain and scared to death. Like, it's not some benign thing. She's causing causing pain to all these people.
Yeah, that's pretty dark. It reminded me of what was that short story? I have no mouth, but I must scream. It was a short story from I don't know, 70s, 80s about this artificial intelligence that basically became a god and kept the last humans alive for his own satisfaction.
You mean Google?
Or Google. Future Google. It was called, that's the new title, Future Google. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts? I have to end it. I got to get back to work. I got to do, big boy things that I don't want to do. How do you want to sum up our WandaVision discussion?
I think it's a really interesting series. Reece, you can be the judge on whether or not you'd recommend it to somebody that does not have a knowledge of Marvel, but as a fan, I think it's very enjoyable and well done so far.
I would. I think it's interesting enough. It's well done, well acted, well written. I do kind of feel a little out of the loop, but not so much that it turns me off, from wanting to watch the next episode, which is a good thing. I'm just happy that I have you guys who I can throw questions at and get some answers.
Yeah, I think it's taking chances. It's smart. It's interesting, and I can sit and debate it with people for a half hour. And what do you think this means?
Yeah. Or
I've got friends who are just watching it and just go about their day. Like you can watch it and just enjoy what you see, or you can dissect every screenshot you can get your hands on. So it's satisfying in a lot of different ways to different people.
All right. Well, I still got my fingers crossed we get a Nick Cage cameo somewhere, even if it's a deep fake.
Well, you had asked, you said we might get to some point tonight who you think Nicolas Cage should play in the Marvel Universe. And my mind immediately went to a very D-list villain. Mm-hmm. There's a guy named Angar the Screamer.
All right.
So you should look him up, Google him. For some reason, the idea of Nicolas Cage, this guy, he has a hallucinogenic scream. He screams at you and you start tripping. So
that's perfect.
That would be my suggestion.
I'm already sold. Did you see Mandy? Have you seen any of his recent movies?
It's been recommended to me, but I haven't seen Mandy.
All right. Of course, that's That's the fan favorite so far of this era of Nicolas Cage. Do you have a favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
Favorite Nicolas Cage movie? I'm definitely not the connoisseur that you guys are. I don't think anyone is, but I probably have a safer bet like Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan, so I could watch Raising Arizona any night of the week. So I love his performance in that.
That one nearly won our last season. The championship, though, it went to, wasn't mine, Wild at Heart. It was Vampire's Kiss. Have you seen that classic masterpiece?
No.
Well, if you get a chance, you should check it out. Right, Shawn?
Okay.
It's a classic.
It's a classic.
I'm just waiting for you guys to get to those mid-90s.
I know.
The peak Cage era.
We are, too.
95, 96, whatever year that was, where he was in Blockbuster after Blockbuster.
Oh, my God.
Speaking of that,
Well,
season 3.
Yeah, season 3. We're gearing up for it. It's coming soon. We'll have an announcement. The gears are in motion. But I just
saw today they're remaking Face Off. Have you seen that?
I'm about to explode right now.
No, I literally right before I logged into this, I was scrolling through something and I saw someone's making a remake or a reboot of Face Off.
And we just spent an hour talking about WandaVision.
That's why I saved that news till last. I didn't want to derail this whole thing.
It better not fucking have Aaron Paul in it.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's funny. I had no idea. That'll be one for future Google. I mean, I gotta have to look that up. We will be watching Willy's Wonderland. You can expect a review of that soon. Yeah. You excited for that, Shawn?
I am.
This is
Very much like knockoff Five Nights at Freddy's.
yeah, it's Nicolas Cage versus animatronic animals at a amusement park.
Nice.
There's
Yeah.
probably pizza involved.
Oscar bait right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me for this exciting special episode of.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you thinking of me and asking me to chip in.
Absolutely, yeah. We'd love to have you back too, especially if we have future comic book related episodes. It'd be a pleasure to have you. And,
Kick-ass.
Kick-ass. That's right, Kick-ass. With Nicolas
Cage is good in that one.
Mm-hmm.
I know, it's amazing, right? Make sure you check us out at nickcagefight.com. Season 3 is coming soon. Also check out KA-POW, the Pop Cultured Podcast. That's Jordan's podcast here. They talk about comic books, movies, well, all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. It's at www.udownwithkpp.com. You can find us.
All right. Thanks again. Catch us next time. I'm out.